Am I the asshole for mentioning my best friend's former crush on me in a speech at his wedding? Okay, I'm currently in a predicament, and frankly, I could really use some opinions. For backstory, I, female 27, met one of my best friends, Christian, male 26, back in 2010 during our freshman year of high school. We became friends and remained close over the years since, making a lot of great memories and sharing mutual close friends. From 2013 to 2016, Christian had pretty serious unrequited feelings for me. However, he eventually got over me, and I had never even let his feelings harm our friendship. If anything, our friendship honestly got closer after he got over me. In early 2018, Christian met Victoria, female 29, at a bar, and they instantly hit it off. They started dating after 2 weeks, got engaged in late 2021, and the wedding happened yesterday night. It was honestly a great time, as I watched with my parents and mutual friends as this kid that I've known for 12 years was getting married to the love of his life. Plus, Victoria and I honestly had a pretty decent relationship, and according to Christian, she didn't really seem to care about his past feelings as time went on. Anyway, as the night kept going with a lot of music and dancing, I got up to eventually give a speech for Christian. I talked about how we first met, how much our lives changed since then, and how great of a person Christian was. The attendees were clearly touched, and Christian and Victoria both looked happy. As I talked more about our history, I jokingly mentioned how Christian had the hots for me, but that didn't matter because he found his soulmate, and that our friendship was stronger than some unrequited feelings. Most of the crowd laughed, and I could even see Christian smiling for a second before seeing Victoria's confused face. After the speech was over, I went over to the bar with a few friends. Christian came up and hugged me, thanking me for the speech. However, at our hotel, one of my other best friends, Devon, female 27, told me that she had heard gossip from the bridesmaids that Victoria was really upset with me for bringing up Christian's previous feelings for me at the wedding. Apparently, Victoria genuinely had no issue with Christian's feelings, but felt that it was inappropriate for me to mention them at a wedding. I sincerely intended no harm with my actions, but maybe I didn't read the room. Everyone I've told is honestly split on whether I'm the bad guy or not, so it's definitely been polarizing. Christian hasn't mentioned any of this to me, and I'm not sure I should ask him. Am I the asshole? In the comments, oh, you pulled the "he was into me first" card. He was in love with me, but I turned him down and now he's with you. Yeah, you're the asshole. How tasteless. I agree. This screams, I should always be the center of attention, intended or not. Also, your crush was such an ego boost that I still revel in it 6 years after it ended. You will be forever known as the groom's female friend who said he was into me first during a speech at the wedding. There's a time and a place for jokes like that, but a speech at a wedding reception isn't one of them. You're the asshole. Exactly. OP for sure owes the couple an apology, but frankly the person she humiliated here is herself. All the guests at this wedding will be dining off of this story for years to come. The time I went to a wedding and a drunk friend of the groom tried to imply he was her sloppy seconds to the bride is a pretty killer anecdote, likely to elicit many horrified reactions and follow-up questions from its audience. You're the asshole. You don't bring that stuff up at a wedding, joking or not. The speech was supposed to be about Christian and Victoria, not about Christian's past feelings for you. Imagine how uncomfortable you made Victoria feel. I also bet the crowd laughed more out of discomfort for the situation. You need to apologize to the bride and groom. I understand you didn't mean that comment maliciously at all. It was just wildly inappropriate considering time and place. Back up to the post, there's an edit. To those of you asking about whether the speech was planned or impromptu, I had asked Christian's parents beforehand if I could give a speech, and they were more than happy with it. People have to stop with the assumptions that this has anything to do with me having feelings though. Yeah, saying that in my speech was probably an idiot move, but my sincere intention was to tell everyone about our 12 years of friendship and some of its history. And like I said, people were touched up until my fateful joke. And now, onto the update. I've accepted I'm the asshole, everyone. I genuinely didn't mean any ill will bringing the crush up. It really was a way to reminisce on me and Christian's history of friendship and how far we had come. But I've realized now that the wedding was the worst possible time to bring that up, even if Victoria didn't care about the feelings in the past. I talked with Christian for a bit, and having known me for 12 years, he wasn't too mad, as he said he understood I didn't have any intentionally ill motives. He did tell me that I needed to apologize to Victoria. I told him I wanted to do it anyway, and I called and apologized to her over the phone. We talked for around 2 hours about the whole thing, and she understood that I wasn't intentionally trying to hurt either of them. I said it was unacceptable of me to ruin their wedding day, but Victoria assured me that it was still a wonderful day for them, and she was happy I realized my fault. So yes, we're all pretty much good again. And I will watch it more with this stuff in the future. To those of you who gave me feedback, in a civil manner, Lamau, thanks for opening my eyes. In the comments, sounds like the groom married the right person. Dude, I wish a sibling had grabbed the mic after her and said that word for word. Well, Christian certainly chose wisely. Now who wants to do the cha-cha slide? DJ Foghorn noises? Wow, she really did the whole, the parents said it was okay first excuse too. I'd be beyond furious as the bride. That's something that you clear up with them first. What a jerk. Quote, I said it was unacceptable for me to ruin their wedding day, but Victoria assured me that it was still a wonderful day for them, and she was happy I realized my fault. I love that Victoria didn't give her the satisfaction of thinking that she mattered that much to her. You? Ruin my wedding? Ha! Why are you asking the parents if you can do a speech at your friend's wedding? At first I thought that they were the best man/maid of honor or something, but nope. Wasn't planned at all. OP isn't even that close to them, considering she wasn't part of the wedding party. Yeah, 12 years of friendship, but not in the wedding party? I think she's overestimated the strength of her friendship with Christian, which makes the decision to give a speech even weirder. In a way, I can understand being this dense, but at the same time, it's like, can we have some critical thinking and self-awareness in this world, please? This fucking he liked me first rhetoric is so sad and pathetic. Thank you for owning it and not getting defensive and apologizing directly to Victoria for what you did, OP, but how do you not realize how pathetic this situation was? Like, you didn't ask them if you could give a speech. They had no idea you were doing it. And on top of that, you give some bullshit like, oh, haha, he liked me first, by the way, guys. How are you not aware that this is going to look bad on a wedding day? What the fuck is wrong with you? You deserve to have an OhNoConsequences moment because you need to learn from this and develop some critical thinking, please. Thanks for the update and thanks for, going to save it like a good person should. But oh my god, do not ever do anything like this again. Our next story is cross-posted from the True Off My Chest subreddit by user Somber66, and it's titled, I cheated on my girlfriend and received the worst karma for it. I emotionally cheated for about 4 months with a coworker and sent texts every night back and forth with her. I also cheated with another girl I knew and had sex a few times. I grew tired of my girlfriend over the past year and was avoidant on breaking up because I felt she was too safe. She found out about the coworker a day before my birthday when she went through my phone. I've never heard someone cry like that. I had a birthday party the next day, but it was half full because the news came out and everyone saw me as Satan himself, which I don't blame him for. The girl that I cheated with came and broke up with her boyfriend that day to be with me. I rode the high and went with it. We have a whirlwind romance and things finally simmer down. I found out that she's addicted to a gas station drug called 7O and is a crazy drug addict. She's asking me for money every day and I'm the only person she has. She is also one of the few people I have at this point. Many nights I lay in bed with her, she is tossing and turning from withdrawals, and I'm on my phone looking at stories and updates of all of my friends with my ex having the time of their lives and slowly being blocked and unfollowed one by one. I broke up with this girl because I finally snapped out of my mania and feel the most alone I've ever felt. I go on hinge dates a few nights a week and have meaningless sex. I miss my old life, but everyone sees me as a monster. I regret everything fully and wish I could go back so bad. In the comments, Long Jumping Fly says, "So you regret the results of your actions, not your actions. This is the real reason all of your friends left you. Still not learning." Yup, he only regrets the consequences to himself, which is being without his friends. He doesn't regret the pain he caused his girlfriend. He only even mentions her in the present because she won the friends in the breakup. He doesn't even miss her. He just misses his friends and his less lonely, comfy old life. And he's still out there using women, chasing the empty high of meaningless sex. The dude hasn't learned a thing about empathy, caring about anyone besides himself, and treating people with respect. The bit that got me was when he said, "I've never heard someone cry like that, yet still rode the high and went with it." Now he wishes he could have everything back when he never truly loved her at all. Yeah, that part got me too. He's such a selfish asshole. You got what you deserved. Your ex dodged a bullet. Well, 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 if it isn't the consequences of my own carefully curated decisions. Damn. Dude really hates the consequences. Doesn't say anything about regretting the actions, though. I noticed he hasn't replied to the comments. He probably expected some sympathy, but instead everyone is calling him an asshole. Interesting, that one. I wonder why he's not replying to any comments, huh? OP, come back. Let us know how you're feeling. What are you scared of? You did something terrible, and you don't even feel bad for doing something terrible. You're just sad that it restricts you from all the benefits that you had beforehand? No. Please come back and tell us how you're going to make up for the consequences of your actions. Or is that it? You're just putting that out into space, letting it go, and continuing life as usual. That is also a choice, but hey, you live your life as you want, buddy. Our next story is cross-posted from Am I the Arsehole by a throwaway account titled, "Am I the arsehole for liquidating my daughter's college fund to keep our dream house? I, 50 female, lost my husband 4 years ago. I also have a 16-year-old daughter. My late husband left me everything and told me to trust his lawyer. My husband had worked for 20 years as a doctor and did some minor investing, so I inherited over 7 figures. A year later, I decided to list our home of 12 years and received an offer too good to refuse. With the inheritance, as well as the influx of cash from selling the house, I decided to move my daughter and I to Malibu because we always dreamed of a home next to the beach. But my husband was exceptionally tight-fisted and called homes there money pits. We found a beautiful home by the sea. I never personally handled anything regarding buying a home before, so I didn't anticipate all the extra costs beyond the sticker price. But my daughter was so excited, so I decided to go for it. My late husband's lawyer was furious at my decision, so I stopped taking his calls. I ended up signing with a money manager who said that we'd passively earn 90% of what surgeons earned per year. But the money manager ended up tanking a lot of our investments. I took the dwindling money out and made my own investments, which made it worse. And long story short, because of all of that, I only have around $35,000 available to me now. Not to mention our debts. With the amount available to me, I'm looking at only being able to pay 1 month of a mortgage/upkeep, and then I'm basically out of luck until my business gets clients. However, the place where we do have a significant amount of money is the fund that my husband started for our daughter. With the money there, I could prevent our credit cards from being shut down and not have to worry about the mortgage for many more months. So I ended up liquidating my daughter's college fund. I told her about it today, and she was furious and said she cannot believe all of her dad's work is gone. She also said that she won't be supporting me for retirement. Am I the asshole for trying to fix my mistakes and trying to keep our house? In the comments, Wolf Goddess says, "You're the asshole. You decided not to listen to the lawyer. You decided to move to an extremely expensive place, and you decided to trust somebody's shady advice. Now you're taking away your daughter's chances of being able to go to college loan-free. That money is not yours. You should be ashamed of yourself." He has it right. Malibu is a money pit of empty Airbnbs. One grocery store on the highway with outrageous prices and almost no food except for tourist traps. Edit, well, since everyone is here, skip Malibu Farm Pier Cafe. Not worth it. Go to Lily's Malibu if you want a fast, cheap-er burrito. You're the asshole. You made an extremely poor financial decision and disregarded those around you who were offering you more sound financial advice. Having a home near the beach doesn't mean that you need to move to Malibu, but I digress. You are absolutely the asshole here. You robbed your daughter of a chance to start her life off comfortably and took money that was never intended for you. Sell this god-forsaken money pit of a home, get somewhere that you can actually afford, and take a class in personal finance management. Also, grow up? Opie literally ghosted the attorney because they weren't telling her what she wanted to hear. Interesting. I do wonder how much of that marriage was Opie just doing her best to extract money from her husband, who seems to be the financial backbone of the family, and how much of their relationship was him just trying to get through to her and be like, no, that's a stupid idea, that's too expensive, don't do that, and her just not listening to him and then being upset that he's right and never learning from her mistakes because he shielded her from the consequences of those. Also, I'm surprised that he didn't make that trust fund airtight with the daughter. How is OP able to access that money without her say-so? And even then, I don't believe that it's not airtight because he sounded smart and well-versed enough to, kind of set it up in a way that you can't release that money unless it's explicitly for college. Interesting, OP. Very interesting. Our next post is by user Lady Savings, cross-posted from Am I the Asshole Here, titled, Am I the Asshole Here? Husband accused me of financial infidelity. Husband, 33 male, and I, 33 female, have been married for 10 years, together since college. Since starting out, we made financial security a priority and have been able to achieve that, albeit with some good luck along the way. We both have good jobs, paying close to $200K each, student loans were paid off within a few years, both went to state schools with some scholarships, so didn't have a lot of debt to begin with. We live in a house that I inherited from my grandmother, no mortgage, and don't have any credit card debt. We max out our 401ks and currently have 18 months of expenses in our emergency fund and are still adding to it. Our cars are both paid off and should be good for another 5+ years, and we don't have any credit card debt. We manage our finances in a hybrid manner. Joint accounts for bills and savings, and separate accounts for our fun money. We each get a pretty generous monthly allotment. The fun money is strictly for our individual expenses, hobbies, clothes, outings with friends, etc., and not for things like date nights, vacations, or larger joint purchases like household appliances and repairs, which come out of our joint account. We also agreed that if either of us gets any bonuses or has any side hustle income, those will go into our individual fun money accounts, unless the funds are needed for a larger expense, such as a major home repair. In terms of the fun money, my husband is much more of a spender than I am due to expensive hobbies. In particular, golf and collecting sports memorabilia, and he's also more into designer clothes, which is fine. It is his fun money. On the other hand, my hobbies are a lot less expensive. Running/working out, reading, baking, etc. In general, I'm more introverted, and a great time for me is tea with a friend at one of our homes, with homemade pastries. I've also been getting back into gaming lately after setting it aside for much of the past decade while building my career. After realizing I had more than enough in my fun money account, I decided to overhaul my gaming setup and got myself a new PC, desk and gaming chair, total cost of about $5,000. However, upon hearing about the purchase, my husband is furious. He says he had no idea that I'd saved up so much money and that I should have consulted him before spending $5,000. I asked what difference it made if it was my own accrued fun money and not our joint funds, and he insisted that my accumulating this amount without telling him was a form of financial infidelity. He says he lost trust in me and doesn't know what else I might be hiding. He's demanding that I return the items I purchased and deposit most of the funds to our joint account. He wants to make a new rule that fun money accounts can't accumulate more than $2,000 and that any excess goes back to the joint account. A rule that would obviously favor him as a person who spends most of his allotment each month instead of saving up for anything bigger. I feel like I'm being punished for being more of a day-to-day saver than spender. It wouldn't occur to me to demand to know how much my husband had in his fun money account or to try to micromanage what he spends it on. I wasn't hiding anything deliberately. He never asked about it until after I made the purchases. Still, maybe I should have been more transparent about my plans. So am I the asshole here? Miscellaneous info. Husband and I each have our own office/hobby room in the house, so it's not like the gaming setup was going in a space he uses. I don't usually game when my husband is home unless he's already busy doing something else. My biggest block of gaming time is typically when he's off playing golf. Also, I run 40 to 50 miles a week, so it's not like I'm generally sedentary. I can't think of a good reason why he would object to me gaming or having a nice gaming setup in my own space in the house. In the comments, LostDragon05 says, "Not the asshole. He sounds super controlling and greedy. My wife and I manage our finances in a similar way. She spends her money on whatever she wants, and I blow mine on outdoor stuff and video games. We have joint checking and savings for household expenses, kids, vacations, etc. I'd sit him down and tell him how he chooses to spend his own money is his business, and how you spend yours is your business. He agreed to this arrangement, and he doesn't get to change the rules because he chose to manage his money differently than you, and you aren't going to return anything because he's acting like a spoiled man-child who didn't get a new toy when you did." OP replies, "I actually have a lot more than 5K saved. We've had this arrangement for a few years, and I typically only spend about $500 of my allotted $1,500 per month. Maybe a bit more some months if I need to replace my running shoes, buy other clothes, or have any outings with friends planned like concerts, but in that range." Music with Rocks In replies, "So, if you were sick for a few weeks and didn't spend any fun money by the next month, it would go over his 2K limit, and he would get $1,000 of your fun money as punishment for you not spending it all right away? The over amount is literally less than 2 months' worth. That is insane. The fact that he's never had more than $2,000 in his fun account shows that he is stupid with money and spends it constantly. He's being greedy and throwing around words like infidelity to try to corner you into feeling like the bad guy. I think you really might need to run a background check to see if he's in debt. It's funny that he's accusing you of financial infidelity when he's trying to manipulate you into handing over money that you saved. This is a naked money grab, not the asshole." OP replies, "Yes, it does feel like he's trying to change the rules and make me feel guilty about not spending all my extra money right away. Honestly, this is one of the main reasons I thought separate discretionary accounts was a good idea. Ironically, I thought that it would prevent arguments like this about what we should be spending or saving." And now, onto the update. My husband finally calmed down enough to have a conversation with me. As many others who provided comments suggested, it wasn't really about the money, but a window into larger issues in our relationship. Essentially, my husband has been feeling increasingly unhappy with me for a while for the following reasons. In general, he feels that he's a lot more committed to his career development than I am to mine. It's true that although we currently have about the same income, the ceiling for his field, finance, is a lot higher than the one for mine, tech and software dev. He's currently in an executive training program, and I'm decidedly not. He's feeling resentful that he's having to work long hours in a high-pressure environment, while I get to work primarily at home, doing something that is fun and fairly easy for me, and I'm not stretching myself to do more. He's concerned that over time, these resentments are going to build, and that I'm not going to end up pulling my weight financially if he takes huge leaps in his career and I don't. He remarked that since getting back into gaming a few months ago, I've been putting a bit less effort into cooking. I do nearly all the cooking because I work at home and have an easier schedule. It's true that I have been fixing simpler meals, like grilled chicken salads or chili with cornbread, instead of elaborate meals with fussier foods and several sides. He has also noticed that I haven't been doing the elaborate table settings that I used to, with flowers on the table, fancy placemats, etc. Honestly, I didn't realize he noticed or cared about this, but apparently he does. Acts of service are one of his main love languages, so overall, he's feeling a little neglected because of this. He also feels like I'm not putting enough effort into my appearance. Not in terms of weight/body, I'm a long-distance runner and slim, but in terms of things like clothes, hair, etc. It's true that I've never paid much attention to these things. Given that I work home in tech, the standard for appearances is extremely low, and I far exceed that. I tend to buy simple, practical clothes at places like Target and Walmart, don't wear much makeup, and keep my hair in a simple ponytail. I do glam up a lot more for date nights and other dressy occasions, but most days he comes home from work to find me in a t-shirt and yoga pants with no makeup, and he wants me to make more of an effort. The bottom line is that because of all of these things, he's starting to notice other women. Says he hasn't cheated, he's just noticing other people because he's regularly disappointed in me. In particular, given that he works in finance, there's a good number of very career-oriented, Type A women who manage to have fantastic bodies, be effortlessly polished and glam, and have more interesting hobbies. He also says he feels horrible about all of this because he knows that I'm a good person and that he's being judgmental. That it's not so much that I've changed, as that his own goals and expectations have changed in the past couple years. The financial infidelity part came into it because he feels I'm not really investing in myself and our relationship, thus cheating on our future in a sense. He also says that he loves me enough to be honest. I do believe that he isn't trying to be hurtful. I really had to drag all of this out of him. That he doesn't want us to drift further apart, that he doesn't want to be angry and resentful, and he knows he is asking for a lot. I know that many on this sub might say that I should just tell him to take a hike and to call my lawyer, but we've been married for 10 years, have invested a lot in the relationship, and I want to see if the marriage can be saved. So a couple things. First, we did make an appointment with a marriage counselor and start next week. Also, I'm going to try to do at least some of the above. I'm not sure about making myself be more professionally ambitious when I'm already happy with my work-life balance and we're already financially very comfortable, but I can at least try doing the other things. Return to spending more time on cooking and decor, and fixing myself up a bit when he's on his way home from work, now that I know that they are important to him. I also know that in the end, I may feel like I'm just tiptoeing around and contorting myself to please him, but it won't cost me much, certainly much less than a divorce, to try for a month or two and then see how we both feel. And I know I would always regret it if I didn't try. So maybe not the update that you were expecting or hoping for, but that's where things are. And if folks continue to be interested, I can update further once we've started marriage counseling and once I feel out how the changes are going. And now for the next update. Hi all. So I have an additional and probably not very surprising update to my saga. So the more I thought about it, the more his requests, demands really, were sitting poorly with me. I decided to try a little experiment over the weekend to see what would happen if I tried to meet some of his demands. Not because I actually thought they were reasonable, but because I increasingly had the sense that the goalposts would just keep moving and that I was playing a losing game. So Saturday morning, I went to the salon for a glow-up. Haircut, fresh highlights, mani-pedi, then went to the farmer's market to pick up fresh flowers for our table and assorted other gourmet ingredients. Saturday is usually our date night, but I suggested that we stay in so I could make us a special dinner, steakhouse style. Lobster bisque, bread basket with several types of rolls, savory muffins made from scratch, crab-stuffed mushrooms, filet mignon, potatoes, white chocolate mousse topped with raspberries. I wore a lavender, his favorite color, on me, sheath dress, and high heels, and fully done hair and makeup. For all that, I got a lukewarm, "Thanks, it was tasty," and a kiss on the cheek. Of course, I did all the serving and the cleanup. Sunday, we usually go out, but he suggested that I make us a brunch at home. So I made French press coffee, mimosas with fresh squeezed orange juice, Belgian waffles with a banana Foster topping, eggs scrambled with parmesan and fresh herbs from our garden, roasted fingerling potatoes, and maple glazed bacon. I wore a blue sleeveless sundress, wedge sandals, again did my hair and makeup, and again I got a "thanks, it's good," and no help with serving or cleanup. Afterwards, I asked if this is what he had in mind when he critiqued me before. He said that it was a start, but that I was acting very entitled for wanting credit for basic adulting. He then dropped a bomb that he was being so hard on me because he had realized lately that I had a lot to make up for due to my being a low-value woman. I asked what on earth he meant by that, and he said it was because I wasn't a virgin when we met. What? Keep in mind, we started dating at 21. Neither of us claimed to be virgins or stated that as an expectation. Except for very religious people, which neither of us is, I don't think most 21-year-old college students are virgins. I was upfront with him then that I'd had 2 previous partners, my high school boyfriend, we went our separate ways when we went to different colleges in different parts of the country, and another boyfriend that I'd had my first year of college. And that's it. Both committed relationships and nothing casual. He then went on to say that because of my low value, I was going to need to be making it up to him for the rest of my life, that I didn't deserve monogamy or equal treatment, and that I was lucky that anyone wanted to marry me at all, and that he's connected with someone from work, so if I wanted to keep him, then I'd better step up. I told him it didn't sound like there was anything to keep if he no longer loved me, or even liked or respected me. I told him to leave, and he said he would gladly go to his girlfriend's place. I know so many people here insisted he was having an affair, and I just didn't want to see it, that his complaints were really all a part of a campaign to distance himself from me. I feel so foolish for just thinking he was going through a stressful time at work, or that he genuinely wanted to work on our marriage. Anyway, I've taken the week off from work to get my head together. I have an appointment with a lawyer tomorrow. I cancelled the marriage counseling appointment, but got a referral to an individual therapist who can do an intake session with me later in the week. He, and the girlfriend apparently, are coming this evening to get more of his clothes and things, so I have to brace myself for that. Also, please be assured, I do not think I am low value in any way. I let my husband make me think less of myself on some levels for a short time, but now I truly see that it was a him problem. Obviously, we don't share the same goals and values, and he has become someone that I don't recognize. I know the divorce won't be fun or easy, but I will be okay. Thank you all for helping me see that I was being played before I wasted too much more time in a marriage that was already over. And now for the next update. Hi all. I wasn't going to post another update, at least not this soon, but I've gotten dozens of DMs and messages asking if I'm okay and how things are going. So this is specially in response to those who were checking in on me. So, he was supposed to come and get his stuff on Tuesday evening, a couple of days ago, but he told me at the last minute he couldn't because Amy, his girlfriend, wasn't feeling well. Some people called in the comments, but yes, she's pregnant apparently. He told me this on text, so I have proof of the affair in writing now. It's not just his word against mine. Anyway, I didn't want him to keep jerking me around on the schedule for whatever reason, so I told him that I'd pack his stuff for him and arrange for movers. I think it's better that way. I really didn't want him or them in the house. I already had arranged for a friend to come over on Tuesday when he and Amy were supposed to come by, so the 2 of us spent the evening packing his clothes and other personal effects. The movers came yesterday and got the boxes and furniture items that he wanted. He didn't want much, just the stuff from his home office and his dresser, as apparently Amy's apartment is small. I provided a detailed inventory and photos of everything, which he approved, so he can't say that I broke or otherwise ruined his stuff. After that yesterday, I went to the clinic to get STD tests. I won't have the results for a week or so, but thankfully I haven't had any symptoms, and I met with my lawyer, who said that I had a good case for grounds of adultery and mental cruelty if I want/need to go that route. At a minimum, it's leverage to get him to settle quickly and quietly. Also locked down all the finances within the parameters provided by the lawyer so that he can't empty our joint funds or take anything that belongs to me. Changed account beneficiaries and all that fun stuff. Changed the locks to the house too. I decided to take the advice of some of the commenters and am getting rid of the bed and other bedroom furniture that I shared with him. I'm donating it. Someone is coming this afternoon to haul it all off, and I'm going to completely redecorate the bedroom to my own taste. That will take a bit, staying in one of the guest rooms in the meantime. I'm also taking a spa weekend away, leaving tomorrow morning and back Sunday night, just to get a change of scenery before I have to go back to work next week. And yes, even after buying the gaming setup, I have plenty of fun money left in my account to afford my lawyer's retainer and redoing the bedroom as well as my getaway, with plenty left over. Here's to frugality when it counts. Those are the main updates for the moment. I'm doing better than expected, I think, and realizing more day by day that it really wasn't a good marriage. At least not for the last couple of years when he started expecting me to do everything around the house and all the other emotional labor of running our lives outside of work with no help and little to no gratitude. Amy sure is gonna have her hands full. And now for the next update. Not sure if folks remember, but I had a series of posts earlier in the summer. Last I updated, he had moved in with Amy, his co-worker, and we were starting the divorce process. I'm updating again here because a lot of kind people had been checking in with well wishes and to see how I'm holding up. Sorry for not updating sooner, but as soon as I got back from the spa weekend I mentioned in my last update, I dove into working with my attorney on the divorce settlement and didn't think it wise to put my business on the internet, however anonymously, with the legal issues up in the air. The good news is that we were able to come to an agreement pretty quickly, and everything is now executed. I'm just waiting for the court date, which could take another couple months. But my lawyers say that the agreement is airtight. It wasn't quite as favorable as most of all of you lovely folks probably would have wanted for me, but I was highly motivated to get it done fast. I did get everything that really mattered to me. First, the house I inherited from my grandmother is 100% mine, along with all the furnishings and other effects in the house. My own retirement accounts and my fun money account are all mine as well. Otherwise, I did have to give him 75% of the other cash assets. Although he wasn't on the title for the house, he did contribute substantially to the large renovation we did, as well as to upkeep since then, and the house appreciated very substantially in the years since we moved in. It's fine, as I still have plenty of money, especially as I'm quite frugal most of the time and can rebuild cash savings quickly. Our agreement also states that neither of us has a claim to each other's past, present, or future earnings, so in case something happens and he loses his job before the court date, I won't be liable for any alimony. This is actually overall a very good deal for me and gives me a lot of security. In case anyone is wondering how we got this done so quickly, our state allows divorce on mutual consent grounds, which basically allows for a quick divorce without a legal separation period if the party comes to an agreement about all the finances and assets. Given that Amy is pregnant, my soon-to-be ex, let's call him Joe, yes, like the psychopath in the show You, was also very motivated to not drag this out. Now for the real dirt of this update. Last weekend, shortly after all of our papers were signed, Amy reached out to me. She asked if we could meet and talk. Perhaps I should have declined, but I will admit that I was curious about the 24-year-old prodigy, up until recently a virgin person, who was Joe's affair partner, so I agreed to meet her for lunch. So, the first thing is, Amy is very pregnant, like third trimester. She confirmed she is due in mid-October, which means the affair has been going on a lot longer than Joe let on. Whatever, it's water under the bridge as the divorce is almost final. However, after some polite but chilly pleasantries, she asked me, when am I going to be moving out of the house? Because surely Joe has been patient enough with giving me time to get my life together, and her apartment is small, and they are needing space for the baby. What? I told her that she must be mistaken, as the house is mine, inherited from my grandmother. But I asked her, what else has Joe told her about me and our marriage? And lie after lie, Joe's lies, that is, tumbled out of her mouth, along with crumbs of the real story. These gems include, well, it was true that she and Joe met at work, but it was about a year ago when they were both interviewing for the executive training program they are now in. Amy said, though, that they first became friends before getting involved romantically. Apparently, Joe told her that he was legally married, but that we had been separated in spirit and living separate lives since 2020. But that he didn't want to kick me out and make me homeless during the pandemic because I didn't make much money and we live in a high cost of living area. Joe told Amy that we met in our early 20s when he was mentoring me in a GED prep program, that I was a high school dropout who was struggling with addiction, and essentially that he rescued me, helped me get clean, tutored me for my GED, and had been supporting me since through gradually working on college classes. He told Amy that I was working on prepping for an IT career and was currently making $45K as a help desk technician, and that he wanted to make sure that I could at least afford a studio apartment. He also told Amy that we had separated because I had relapsed and he couldn't have a meaningful relationship with a drug addict. All of this is lies. My entire history of drug use is occasionally sharing a joint in college, maybe 4 to 5 times total, never anything harder. It is true that Amy was a 24-year-old virgin prodigy. She seemed dismayed that Joe had told me that though, at least the virgin part. Said it wasn't a moral issue. She really was just focused on school and work and didn't make time to date, and that generally guys her age seemed more interested in casual hookups, especially the younger finance bro types, and she wasn't interested in that, but that Joe took the time to get to know her and was actually interested in a meaningful relationship. I asked her if the pregnancy was planned. She said no, of course not, but it was a miracle because Joe had a vasectomy, so they took that as a sign that they should keep the baby. No. Joe did not have a vasectomy. As we were planning to be a child-free couple, I suggested it a couple of times over the years, and he firmly stated he didn't want to alter his body like that, so he left birth control as my responsibility. So it really does seem that Amy is pretty blameless here. I mean, those of us who have been around the block would likely know not to believe a guy who claims to be separated, but is still legally married and living with his wife. But without her having any dating or relationship experience, I can see where she would have taken him at his word about everything. After all, I didn't know anything was amiss with Joe until a couple of months ago, and I was married to him. Of course, Amy didn't want to believe me, and I don't blame her for that either. After all, she's been in a relationship with Joe for close to a year and is 7+ months pregnant with his baby, who is coming soon, ready or not. I couldn't immediately refute everything she said, but I showed her a couple of things. First, a picture of me in my late teens with my grandmother in front of my house, and also my LinkedIn profile, which shows my current job and education. Told her to do what she wanted with the info, and to please stay safe and take care of herself, and then said my goodbyes. Yes, it was all very odd and unexpected and surreal. Sorry this is so long, but I figured that those following my tale would be interested in this turn. I'm not sure if I will update again. Maybe in a year or so when I've truly processed everything with lots of therapy, and hopefully on to living my best life. As for Joe and Amy, it's up to them to find whatever their path is. I do hope she wises up and leaves him, but I'm sadly not confident about that. I'm sure he'll be able to spin all of this in his favor, because that's what he does. But I also can't make it my problem anymore. And now, onto the last update, titled Post-Divorce Update, Financial Infidelity Accusation / Cheating Husband. So last time I updated, we had thankfully quickly agreed on a divorce settlement that allowed me to protect my most important assets, and I just met with his mistress Amy at her request. I know quite a few people have been reaching out for more news, but I wanted to wait until my divorce was finalized to avoid risking any complications, and also just thought it best to let things settle for a bit. The good news is, I'm now divorced. The final decree came through a few weeks ago. It actually all went smoothly. I'm eternally grateful to live in a mutual consent divorce state that allows divorcing couples to proceed quickly if they can come to an agreement on finances and property. On the Joe/Amy front, after my last post, all was quiet for a couple of weeks, until Amy, her due date quickly approaching, reached out again to ask if I'd given any more thought to her offer to pay me $17,000 to vacate the house quickly so that she and Joe could move in. Again, this is the house that I inherited that I own free and clear. But Joe told her that he owns it and that he was just giving me time to get my finances together before evicting me. At this point, I decided to package up a lot more evidence of Joe's lies to send to Amy. I sent her a copy of the deed and property tax records showing that the house is in my name only. I sent her copies of my diplomas to prove that I'm not a high school dropout. I sent her some info on various professional associations I'm involved in and awards that I've won to show that I actually do have a senior level job and am not underemployed, as well as proof of my income. I sent her copies of all of my drug test results for the past 5 years. I have a drug-free workplace and have to test 2 to 3 times a year to show that I am not an addict. I sent her time-stamped photos and text exchanges to show that Joe was still having a romantic relationship with me until July this year. Nothing salacious, just photos of us showing G-rated affection, exchanging loving words over text, etc. I even found a text exchange from a couple years ago when we last discussed him potentially getting a vasectomy with his final decision not to proceed with one. A couple days later, she responded. She believed me. However, in the end, it didn't matter, as Joe convinced her that he had lied for a very good reasons. The way they both tell the story, they met at work and were incredibly drawn to each other, in a way that felt inevitable. However, due to Joe being married, he felt that if Amy knew that he was, to that point, happily married, she would either turn away from him or miss out on the love of a lifetime, or she would go ahead with an affair but be consumed with guilt. So to avoid either of these outcomes, and especially to save Amy from guilt, Joe decided to create an alternative narrative in which he was in a marriage that had ended for all intents and purposes years ago, in all ways but legally, because I was an uneducated addict who kept relapsing and couldn't get my life together. That way, she could essentially believe he was single. How noble of Joe to bear all of that guilt alone. Unfortunately, Amy said she understood and forgave him immediately. With a baby due any day, I suppose I can sort of understand the desire to justify the lies, even though the reality is horrifying. I suppose that it's also not my problem anymore. Amy did have her baby over a month ago, and I guess she and Joe will make whatever life together, or not, is meant to be. As for me, I'm doing very well. Actually got a big promotion at work, not managing people, which I don't want to do, but will be working on higher profile projects with a 40% raise, which starts after the new year. The house is really big for just me, so I have a couple of roommates now. A friend who was also going through a divorce moved in, as well as a younger, mid-20s cousin who moved to the city for work. We're all having a lot of fun together. I'm not really ready to date yet. Still in therapy processing all the marital fallout, but getting there and looking forward to whatever new adventures life has to offer. This will probably be my last post, in this series anyway, as the saga of Joe and Amy, or at least my role in it, has finished, with us legally divorced and having no ongoing financial or other ties. The best thing I can do is leave them to their own story and get on with my Joe-free next phase. Thank you all for listening to my story for much of 2023. I do truly appreciate the support and helpful advice that I received along the way. In the comments, Elfitch says, "When do we get the house? Boy, that girl is going to be in for a bumpy ride." The fact that he knows he has no claim to the house and that their living accommodations are unsuitable for the addition of a baby and is making no efforts to secure suitable housing, but instead keeps insisting that they will have it to move in, red flag galore. This girl is the most naive bunny in existence and currently on a very small raft in the middle of shit creek without a paddle. I commend OP for going to the lengths that she did to prove her truthfulness, because she could have told the affair partner to F off and then call the police and eventually got a restraining order if continued harassment was to occur, which is the route that I would take. Yeah, I think in this instance, OP realizes just how not of this reality this woman was. And that's why she decided to extend some grace to her, because she's like, you know what, if I was that unaware of everything going on around me and that easily manipulated by this man, I would want someone to slap me back into reality with some truth, with some evidence, with some receipts, with some subtle nudging to get me to wake up and be like, oh shit, this is a really bad situation I'm in right now. I do like the fact that OP was not harsh with her, because I genuinely do believe that she is just so unaware of everything going on around her and chooses to believe him because he is her first serious everything. Not to say that it's not an oh no consequences situation, absolutely not. Oh no, the consequences of listening to a man like that and going along with everything and getting pregnant and believing him, oh no, I lost my wife, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like he has any consequences here. He kind of got the best of both worlds. He got his fairy tale ending, quote unquote. The only oh no consequences would be if this new partner cut him off, burned his name to the ground, and dragged his ass like he so rightfully deserves. The only one suffering consequences here, unfortunately, is this naive bunny, who is on a very small raft in the middle of shit creek without a paddle, and I don't entirely blame her for being naive. Good lord, what a fucking dumpster fire. Glad it's not me. Thanks for the saga, OP. Anyway guys, I hope you liked the longer episode. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!